That segues nicely into Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN analyst, former NFL quarterback. You can see him on This Just In at 2 Eastern on the Mothership, NFL Live at 4 Eastern. Tim was cut on Hard Knocks when he was with the Ravens. And now, do you have any say in that footage being aired that you get? I mean, it's humiliating enough to get cut, but you got cut on TV with cameras rolling.
No, I had no say, Dan. The funny thing about it was, I actually was cut by the Bills, I don't know, 3 weeks prior, right? So, like, that one hurt my feelings. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to recover from this. And then I go to the Ravens, there's Hard Knocks, and it's like cameras following you around everywhere. And I'm sitting there, and Brian Billick's like, hey, man, like, this doesn't mean it's forever, but it's just not with us. But to make it worse, like, literally to make it worse, I don't know if it was scripted to this, like, totally humiliate me. It was like a big van, like it's not van, like a bus, like a coach bus that probably seats 65 people. I rode it by myself to the airport. Like, I mean, it was like, how much salt do you want to pour into the wound, fellas? Golly. As you can tell, I'm over it. I'm over it.
Is there an easier way to cut people, or a worse way to cut people? I mean, it's TV, and they're trying to make good TV, and I'm sure it was good TV.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. My situation was this: like, I actually knew I wasn't going to make the team, right? Like, it was Randall Cunningham, Elvis Gerback, Chris Redmond was there. Like, I was a camp arm for sure. Matt Cavanaugh was the quarterback coach, and he was actually a teammate with my dad at one point at the Giants. So, like, I had a good relationship with him. So I was like, hey, like, y'all cutting me this week or next week? Like, I knew I was out. But I still don't know if there's, like, an easier way to do it, to be like, hey, man, like, come on in here. Like, you're out. Like, you're fired. You're out. We don't want you here. So, like, I think no matter how delicate you are with it, how much you know that it's coming, it still sticks.
Okay, the Jets makeup. You got a lot of young players, and you got a young coach, and then you got Aaron Rodgers. Help me understand, if you're Hard Knocks, what would you be focusing on, and how do you think that affects a team like that?
Yeah, well, listen, I definitely think it can affect the team. People can say whatever they want. Like, everyone is fully aware of the cameras, fully aware of them. And then when stuff airs, just because of the nature of some of the things that they give access to, like, you'll hear a personnel meeting or coaches talking about a practice. Like, listen, football players come across as like tough guys, whatever. But man, guys are sensitive. So the minute, they hear a conversation that, isn't complimentary, guys catch feelings fast. And so I think that, what things you want to focus on, probably, if it were me, like, how people are responding to Aaron, like what Aaron's interaction is with young players, are guys, how do they respond if he yells at them? Things of that nature I would focus on. But I also think too, like, I'd be shocked if you get a lot of access to Aaron, right? And so it's going to be everybody around him.
See, I think that Zach Wilson would be the fascination for me with Hard Knocks, that I would focus on him almost as, trying to learn, absorb whatever he can from Aaron Rodgers. What do you think of that plot?
Listen, I think it's a great idea, because I think you would learn. And honestly, just because it's access that other people want to get, it would tell the rest of the league a lot about Zach Wilson, right? So if his future is not with the Jets, how Zach handles, interacts, absorbs everything, I think if I were somewhere else, would give me a lot of information whether or not I was going to let him try to revive his career where I was.
How does it not go well for the Jets?
I think just because, like, when there's change, there'll be like a likelihood of, some type of growing pain. And then I would also say this, Dan, that I think is interesting. Like, the Jets, like, they haven't been the biggest game on the schedule for everybody. Like, I don't care if it's like when they play New England, like, like, it's going to be, oh, hey, the greatest coach versus Aaron Rodgers. And then when they play Buffalo, it's, hey, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. And then when they, like, every game on their schedule, like the volume that the NFL in terms of how big they make the game that week is going to be significant. So like what is like just the emotional stamina that that football team has when they haven't gone through it, with a lot of young players to be up and kind of like be the hunted every single week because Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and it's going to feel like the biggest game of the weekend.
We get caught up in chemistry and leadership. And I always thought, like Cal Ripken once said, hey, if I go out and perform, then I'm leading. Like, watch what I do, how I do it. And Aaron Rodgers strikes me as that. I don't know if he's a rah-rah, hey, guys, come on over, we're going to have beers, we're buddies, and all those things. As much as he is, just watch me do it.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment of Rodgers' approach to being a, quote, leader or, the focal point of a team?
I think that's fair. I think what happens is guys get older. It is harder and harder to be like hey guys, like we're all hanging out. Like as you get older and you're well into your 30s, you look back at some of these guys that are so much younger than you and like you're just not in the same stage of life. You're not interested in the same thing. As a quarterback, like financially, you're in a completely different stratosphere than a lot of the guys that you would be hanging out with. And so I think it changes. Like, I don't care if it was Peyton Manning. I don't care if it's Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady early on in New England is going to be a very different relationship than later in his career in New England. Like, I remember joking with my brother when he was at the Colts. He was like, look, Andrew Luck is closer to my daughter's age than my age. like you just, like, it changes. And so I do think, like, there's a transition to, hey, look, just follow how we're practicing, how we're getting ready.
Talking to Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN college football and pro football analyst, former NFL quarterback. You can see him with Max Kellerman. This just in at 2 Eastern, NFL Live at 4 Eastern. Give me the good team that could disappoint. Like you're not, like it teeters on, wow, this could be really good or it could go south.
Well, I'll give you. I mean, they're not the best. I don't think they're the best team in the division, but the Dallas Cowboys, right? So the NFC appears to be way more open, right? There's all this talk about, hey, Mike McCarthy's now going to call the plays. And look, Mike McCarthy's a successful coach, won a Super Bowl. He knows a lot of football. I think there's an underappreciation for how good Kellen Moore was for that offense. While Kellen Moore was calling plays in Dallas, they are second in the league in scoring to only the Kansas City Chiefs, which you cannot argue how good Kansas City has been offensively. And part of that span, there's a Cooper Rush era inserted in there. Like, I hope people know, like Kellen Moore, kind of gets run out of town in Dallas, how good he was. I think we could see Dallas's offense take a step backwards. Like, I think that's a team that obviously everyone's talking about Philadelphia and their high aspirations for people, in terms of the 49ers and how they see them. But look, like Dallas should be a good football team. And like, that's another team for me. Like, what does that offense look like? Like, are they really, like, are they getting better or are they taking a step back? I think they could take a step back.
Trying to figure out, I talk about this, if Patrick Mahomes played for the Bears, he'd be a curiosity. He'd be a curiosity because they don't have weapons around him. He went to the right place. The quarterback who goes to the right place and has the right coach and the right weapons can dictate how successful you are. And I find that interesting that there are certain quarterbacks who go, I thought that David Carr had as much talent as I had seen, and he played for a terrible Houston team. Russell Wilson went to the right place at the right time, the right coach. I mean, the NFL's littered with quarterbacks who failed, but I think we sometimes forget that guy was not in the right. Tim Couch goes to the Browns. They're not any good. I don't know if Tim Couch goes to a good team if he had a great career. You ever step back and go, just the luck of some of these guys going to the right place at the right time?
Look, there's no question about it. I'll use my brother as an example here again. Look, my brother's in Green Bay. He thinks he's getting traded to Miami, and it would have been like Dave Wannstedt era in Miami. Instead, A.J. Feely goes to Miami, burns out, doesn't work out, and he gets to go with Mike Holmgren. And Mike Holmgren, knew him. He knew that system. He had great success. You bring up the point about Mahomes. People forget he was a raw prospect, really raw. But he goes to, in my estimation, the best, situation in terms of a guy that can coach quarterbacks. Look at who Andy Reid has helped play well. Like everybody, Donovan McNabb. I mean, look, Donovan McNabb, AJ Feely, Coy Detmer, Michael Vick, Jeff Garcia. Like to me, Andy Reid has done a remarkable job with so many quarterbacks. And so I think Patrick going there's no question that that's been a benefit to him. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like I thought a similar thing with Eli Manning in New York. We put so much mentally on the quarterback with the Giants. Eli was a perfect fit for it. He was so smart. He saw things so well. Ben Roethlisberger, he was in a situation in Pittsburgh where they weren't putting as much mentally on him early on. And that was awesome for Ben because it was Ben throwing guys off of him because he missed a hot and then shooting the ball down the field. Like that was perfect for Ben. So yeah, I think the coaching fit for where a player is has a lot to do with that guy's success.
Give me a play. If I said, give me a play that you called before that the audience might go, oh my God. How do you remember all of that?
Like the verbiage of it?
Yeah, just everything. We're in the huddle. All right, let's go. Huddle up. Let's go.
All right, Dan. Hey, Dan, come on, get in here. Here we go. We're going to shift to A right slot, 322 scout, Y stick lion, alert, fullback 40. All right, on one. Ready? But here we go. Something like that. Hey, listen, it's been a long time, Dan. Like that. Listen, I probably just sounded. I got like a shift and a formation.
And all that. Did you call two plays there?
I did like an alert to a draw. But like, what's funny is I always like think about this, and quarterbacks would gripe all the time, especially like a West Coast offense. You literally tell everyone what to do. And like I remember sitting in quarterback meeting rooms and be like, hey, can't these guys just learn? Like, why do I gotta tell everybody everything that they've got to do?
Did your voice ever crack at the line of scrimmage?
Oh, listen, there was no question it would crack. I one of the things we did, it's another Giants experiment. We were playing the Colts, and one of the things the defense would do when they were playing Peyton Manning is they would hold their disguise not based on what the offense was doing, but on the play clock. So the defense was actually paying attention to the play clock because you're going to hold your disguise until the ball had to be snapped because Peyton was just trying to read your mail. So we're doing scout team, and I basically had to like just say nonsense. I just was like yelling anything to kind of go through it. And like at the time, I had like little kids, so like I'm up there and like, I'm running out of things to say. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, whatever, Dan Patrick, hot route. But then I'm like running out of things to say. And like my daughter was like 2 years old, and I'm like, Dora the Explorer, Swiper, no swiping. You just say the craziest thing. I'm sure there was a lot of cracking going on there too.
But Peyton changed. How many quarterbacks truly changed the game, in your opinion, in the modern era?
Well, Peyton no doubt did. Brady for sure did. The two things that those guys did better than anyone I think Peyton was getting a lot of credit for a long time because it was so demonstrative at the line of scrimmage, was getting into the right play up at the line of scrimmage, right? Like it was, I joke with Jeff Saturday all the time. I'm like, you guys ran the ball well because Peyton never had you run into a bad look, you know? Yeah. So he was so good at it. Brady, the same thing. He would see something, see a blitz, and adjust the protection. Like you go back further, it was, hey, a team was blitzing you, you just throw hot. Well, then people started to trap stuff, off of a blitz. And so now it was a quarterback was like, oh, hey, you want to come after us? Like, we're going to block it up now and push it down the field. So those guys most certainly did. And then obviously now with the way, design runs are becoming much more of a thing for quarterbacks and how that has to be defended, that's changing the game again, too.
Yeah, I still look at, Montana did with the West Coast offense, but, he probably shared that, with his coaches. But Dan Marino, to me, changed. He was doing what you guys are doing now. And he was doing that back in the 80s. 5 wide and, shotgun. I mean, I don't know what he would do today. Dan Marino from the 80s playing today would be
Yeah,
pretty
well, look,
scary.
I think you're right about that. I'll give you another guy I think changed the game a little bit too is Kurt Warner. Well, Kurt Warner in Arizona. Okay, so like the rebirth of Kurt Warner, and I think Marino in this environment would have been remarkable. You basically get into a spread set. So whether it's 2x2, like you're talking about, 4 wide receivers, 2x2 set, and you could just call some type of scan protection.
Yeah.
Okay, where the quarterback has control of where he's going to put the back. So if there's an overload blitz somewhere, you can pick it up. And then you give full autonomy to the quarterback to signal the route he wants. I mean, that's what happened when Kurt Warner, hope people understand, like, I think he's in large part in the Hall of Fame because of what he did at the end there. Obviously, there was the Rams, but like that burst with Arizona was they would call a scan protection. Kurt would get up there and look at it, and like he was playing arena football again. He was looking, he was signaling over here, signaling over here. If you put Marino in that type of environment, like, good Lord, like I think that he would just be shredding people.
And Kurt Warner once told me, he said, I welcomed the blitz because all I needed to know is where it was coming, and then I was gonna hurt you. And because normally a quarterback's like, oh, I'm gonna get blitzed. He was like, no, I welcomed it because it meant there was an opening there, and he took advantage of it.
There was opportunity. A couple of things I'll say about that with Kurt, like I got like his toughness in the pocket. Like you only want people to come after you if like you're all right getting drilled in the chest as you throw like an in cut. But so two things that allowed Kurt to want that is one, he had so much courage in the pocket. He'd stand in there with anybody. And then his ability to anticipate was so good because Kurt didn't have this big, huge arm. He had plenty of arm, but it wasn't a huge arm. But what he had probably better than anybody I'd seen was he could throw the ball so early and anticipate where that guy would be.
Yeah. And
so like that is how you take advantage of stuff down the field when because they're vacating that defense down the field. Well, the ball is out, and then here comes Larry Fitzgerald running into that window.
Let's do this again. A great appearance, Tim. We really appreciate you sharing some knowledge. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good to be on with you guys. See you.
Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN college football analyst and former NFL quarterback, and of course got cut on Hard Knocks. It's got to be bad enough. So he got cut, and then 3 weeks later he gets cut on national TV. Tim will be on This Just In at 2 Eastern and NFL Live at 4 Eastern. Take a break. We're back after this.